Okay, we have a quorum, so we're gonna begin our meeting. A call to order, adoption of an agenda. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I'll second that.
Probably moving second, that we adopt the agenda. Roll call.
Representative Howard, Mr. Lawson,
Yes.
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Green, Mr. Green, I'll call the advisory member, Mr. Green.
Okay, the motion passed. Why don't we go to adoption of the minutes? Do I have a motion?
So move.
Second.
And probably moving second, that we adopted minutes. Roll call.
Mr. Lawson,
Yes.
Yes,
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
carries.
thank you. Matters referred from the Board of Directors, there is none. We'll go into number 5, monthly finance report. Ms. Andrews.
Good morning, everyone. I'd like to call your attention to page 7. Page 7 will give us the financial highlights for the month of January 2024. As of January 2024, we are 58% complete with the fiscal year. We had an annual budget of $45.6 million. Our net income for the month was just shy of $2 million. Total revenue is $4.5 million. Our total expenses are $2.73 million. Paid to date to the contract operator is just $65 million. Following down from there, those professional contract, marketing, and security things that you guys wanted to see. Underneath, listing out those vendors and what we paid for them in that month. Those listed with an asterisk, the invoices for them were included in this packet. Dropping down to our past donations, so we didn't have any new past donations since our last report. Below that, we talk about our penny revenue, where we are, how much is remaining, and any collections done to date. So if you note again, we're almost 70% of total collections done. I still left in there that, according to Richland County, they expect to be finished collecting December 2026. So we got another payment for this month. We received another payment from Richland County in February for $6.7 million. And that is the end of my report.
Okay, are there any questions? Okay, thank you, Ms. Andrews. Dr. Prince, she's absent today?
She should,
Or is she on?
she should be on.
Dr. Prince, are you there?
She's trying to get on. She's trying to get in again.
Okay, why don't we go down to 7 on the agenda, then we'll come back to Dr. Prince. Are you ready, Ms. Andrews?
All right, so to you guys online, Andy, Mr. Lawson, well, Chris. Andy, Chris, I emailed you out. I did a revision to the mid-year budget. Sorry I didn't send it out yesterday, but it's in your email just so you can see where we are. So, and I noticed Ms. Prince just dropped on. You want me to keep going, or you want to pause and let her go?
Since you started, you can keep going.
All right, so it would have been, well, look at the insert for the email. Let me know when you guys have it up so I can make sure you're seeing the numbers that I'm seeing.
Yes.
So it would have started page 51, but we're going with the insert. So as you see from the letter here, the overall net change with the budget is $436,000. What I would say it would be a positive to us, but we decreased it by that much. So I have attached here each line item, what the budget was in 2024 and what we're proposing, and the variance by percent and by dollar. So not to delve in or go by line, but I open the floor for any questions. But in a nutshell, we're decreasing the budget and some of the line items were going down and some are going up to reflect what we've been experiencing throughout the year. So if any stand out to you that you want me to give more clarity on, I open the floor to those questions now.
Now,
I-
go ahead, Mr. Lawson.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Hey, Roz, good morning. So, technical services, so professional contract services, I see that obviously we're proposing a pretty hefty increase. Or well, there was a hefty increase from 1.4 to 2.6. I think that's page 5.
I'm getting ready.
Technical services
Oh,
is the
okay, yes.
what exactly does professional contract services kind of entail, right? Are we talking vendors here? What are we talking?
Okay, so you're looking at it backwards. So I'm proposing we go down to 1.5 million from the 2.6. So the first column is what I'm proposing. The
Oh,
second
got
column is
it.
what we're, yeah.
Got it. Okay.
So,
Well,
yes,
that's
and
great
those-
then.
yeah, so those professional contract services will be any of the vendors that we utilize, like legal, Chernoff Newman. Those type of contracts we get that are providing professional service to us, not outlined somewhere else.
Got it. Okay, perfect. Nope, that makes sense. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other question?
Real quick, if I may, here.
Yes, sir.
Okay, yes.
Just explain, if you don't mind, the new line in revenue, the federal revenue for the access to care. I mean, it's a pretty significant number. Kind of wanted to understand that.
I'm looking for it. Give me a sec.
So it's on page 2 of your insert at the very last change, 227,000.
Oh, okay. So what that was, we technically didn't budget for it, but we received money on behalf of that, so I just kind of included it in to kind of zero that line out.
Okay, so we've already recognized the revenue. We just
Yes.
didn't, we're just
Didn't budget for it, yes.
reflecting
And
the
that's-
budget. Okay,
Right, and that's a project, Michelle, correct me if I'm wrong, that Phoenix Mobility is overseeing for us. So we didn't budget for it, and Michelle has done a drawdown, so that money has come in, so we're just recognizing it now in this year's budget.
okay. And so then, I guess, if you don't mind, the other 2 on that page, so fuel tax refunds have gone down. What is that?
So we can get our excise tax refunds on the fuel that we buy, the diesel fuel. And we kind of were aggressive with saying, hey, we're gonna get this much in based off last year's, but less fuel, less cost in fuel. Basically, the tax we get back is not as high. So I just decreased it a little bit to go in line. We begin about 10,000 per year. So I just kind of dropped it down. I mean, per month, I'm sorry,
month,
10,000 per month. I just kind of
Okay.
dropped down to be in line with that.
Okay. And then passenger fare, is that just kind of reflecting what's actually happening?
Yes, so
Okay.
again, we thought we would be along the same trends of previous year, but, you know, and looking at what's been coming in every month, I decided it might be best to just drop it down.
Do you think that's a function of like fewer riders, or is it they're buying passes and saving
Yeah,
money
yeah.
that way?
Yes, most of them are buying, yes, buying a higher cost, like
multiple-
30, yes. Like I say,
Gotcha.
our 31-day pass is actually $4 a day versus for a month, you're paying over $120. Our monthly pass is $40. So at some point, you know, sometime, and we have a lot more outside customers buying passes in bulk to help the community out as well.
Okay. And then my final question is just kind of a, I don't know, philosophical question. What do you attribute the budget change to? So like, were you noticing that passenger fares were coming in lower, and that's kind of what led to the whole budget? What's the primary driver of the mid-year budget change this time? I know we do it
So, yeah,
regularly anyway, but
right, and as you stated, we do it regularly anyway. after the December mark, and we think all expenses are in, we just go through and take a look at how we're trending. So I just say, like I said, the change in this was so small, it was less than under 1%. So it wasn't a whole lot of shifting. And you
Right.
know, when we initially do it, I kind of go aggressive to say, hey, we're gonna keep on that same trend. And you know, say aim high, come in lower versus I'd rather aim high and come in low than have to be low and have to go up. And you guys are looking at me like, what's going on? So,
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, the one that Mr. Lawson identified is the big one, obviously. And so I just was curious as to whether or not that the professional services was kind of driving the whole budget
yes,
revision,
so,
but
yeah, I would go with them. Again, you guys know we had a lot of vendors doing a lot of things. And you requested that we try to pull back from that. So we did start doing a lot of stuff in-house, monitoring what the outside people are doing and getting rid of a lot of outside vendors.
okay.
Thank you, Mr. Lawson, Mr. Smith, Mr. Green.
Mr. Lawson,
Ms.
go ahead.
Mr. Lawson? Mr.
Yeah,
Lawson?
yes, sir, Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, if I may. Hey, Roz, one more additional question for you. And this is kind of a twofold here. So let me get down to the section. I think we're on page 4. Wait, hold on. Let me bring up page 4. We are on page 4. We're on page 4, Roz. So under O&M or operations and maintenance.
Mhm.
Okay, so I'm looking at obviously what we spent for the contractors, right? So we spent about 815 this year, and you're proposing 365 for the new budget. Now, my question there is what do we lose, right? That's a difference of approximately $450,000. So what are we really giving up?
So that's a contract for any of those special enhancement services we have, like Lyft, Uber, van pool, that's that line there.
Okay.
So we're not losing much, just again, going back to see where we are with the spending. I know for a couple of months, we were high in Lyft because of the misuse of the codes that we were giving out. So
Okay.
we went and met with Lyft to get a handle on that. So we're pretty sure going forward, we shouldn't spend no more than 10 to 20,000 a month.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that was the biggest driver in that pot, Lyft, the partnership we have with Lyft.
Okay. And then my second question, if I may, Mr. Chairman. So same section, we're just moving down to safety and security. Now, the question here is kind of reverse, right? So it's a difference of 450K. This year we spent, 150, and now we're proposing 600,000. What are we getting? And what entails safety and security to spend an additional $450,000?
So safety and security is, as it said, security personnel and hardware, so like security hardware for the buses. So we did do an upfit for all of our buses. So in a nutshell, we had a one-time huge increase because we rebought security, cameras and stuff and DVRs and those type of things that go on the bus to upfit our cameras on the bus.
Okay,
So
so proactive. Okay, that makes sense. I just wanted to know, right? Because if we have to spend this to somebody, we kind of need to be able to articulate, hey, we outfitted all of our buses with cameras now. Is that what we're saying?
Oh, we were not sure if you are aware, but we wanted to put a 9th camera in the back of the bus, well, an additional camera at the back of the bus. And when we upfitted all of our buses currently to be on like 911. So if the world has a crisis and Wi-Fi go down, our buses will move to the front and still have service for Wi-Fi and the technology will still work.
Oh, that's perfect. Okay, thank you so much. That helps.
You're welcome.
Are there any more questions? Being the financial expert that you are, Ms. Andrews, Is there anything in this budget that is outrageous in terms of increase in price?
No, sir, I wouldn't say anything outrageous. And Mr. Reese can attest, like I said, we went line by line, we talked about them all. And where I would have had any concern, you know, I mentioned it to him, so no, I don't think any stands out. Say, hey, we need to pay attention here, so. No, sir.
Okay. Any more questions from any board members? We have to have a motion to approve this.
Yes, so the motion is to approve here and then recommend pushing it to the board, and that will be a second motion to approve to the board. Recommend to the board to approve the mid-year budget adjustments.
Okay, do I have a motion?
So moved.
I'll second that motion.
Probably move in second that we recommend this budget to the board for approval. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay,
Representative Howard, Watson,
Yes.
Morris,
yes,
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
carries.
thank you. Let's go back to item number 6. Dr. Prince. And I see her name there. Maybe she's muted. Dr. Prince,
Okay, I'm here. Can you hear me?
morning.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do apologize for not being available earlier. I think I had dialed into another meeting. But the DBE reports are found on pages 47 through 50 of the finance packet. And it covers data up through January 2024. On pages 47 through 48 is just a summary and a quick snapshot of all vendors with DBE goals with the comment. And on page 47, it reflects data as of January 2024. And during this time, we had the amount spent was approximately $71.3 million with vendors. And of this amount, DBEs received 25.5% or $18.1 million of those dollars. And on pages 49 through 50, we always share information about our contractor RATP DAP and the payments that they make to DBEs. And on page 49 reflects data from the start of the contract. And this is to share their cumulative goal. And as of January 31st, they had spent approximately $14.6 million with DBE firms, which equates to approximately 22.5% of their 20.06% goal. And on page 50, I always share information just to capture data for the fiscal year, and it's for tracking purposes only. This is all that I have to share at this time, and I'm available for any questions.
Dr. Prince,
Yes, sir.
the goal for RAPDAB is 20.06%.
Yes.
And I noticed they are at 22%. Now, that 22% does not include any of those 2%. Is that correct?
It does not include what?
I noticed other vendors here with 2% and or more. That 22% is not impacted by any of those vendors.
Right, that's correct. They have their own goal. They have
Okay.
their own goal. And when I share the data on pages 47 through 48, it's all the vendors that the comment has. And I'm tracking those percentages as well. But RATP DAP have their own goals. So the 22.5 is just for RATP DAP only.
All right, good. Thank you.
Okay.
Any more questions? Okay, thank you, Dr. Prince.
Thank you.
We are moving on to number 8, comments, announcement, new motions.
You skipped one.
Oh, I'm sorry, number 7B. 7B, okay. Employee retirement benefits.
I can take I'll take this one. I forgot to put my name next to it or the speaker for this section. But as you guys are aware, we recently had a retiree have happened. First for the comment, and looking and doing so, we realized we didn't have a policy to set for what we do for retirees. So that's what this is about. If your pages 57 and 58, mainly focusing on page 58. So I reached out to a few agencies around the way that that are following the people, asking them what they did for retirees. That was not an easy task to get some, because most didn't know. So in all of that, you do know that, you know, being a quasi, or being a member of the state retirement system, you have the luxury of, I guess, preparing your own policy of how you would do. So, long story short, this has to do with the health coverage for those retirees. So, up at on page 58, I gave a breakdown of what it costs the employer and what the cost is to the employee for health coverage. So beginning at the top, again, for current fiscal year, right now, the comment pays about $500 per employee. The employee, depending at, well, if you have all of this coverage, and that's employee only, your coverage is just shy of $140. I put over to the side, so you guys are aware, come next fiscal year, there will be almost a 12% increase for the employer. So going down in that first box for fiscal year 23-24, I kind of tried to come up with something if you're hired after, before a certain date and your years of service. So going back and forth, figuring this was the best, trying to offer a retiree. So if you hired after 2008 and you have more than 10 years of service under CMRTA, I'm proposing, and again, it's a proposal, feel free to shoot me down or say you have an alternative, but to keep the cost as it is currently. So we would absorb our costs as we currently are, and also pay the employees' cost. If you hired before 2008, I'm sorry, I said that backwards. Hired after 2008 and 10 years of service, we'll continue to pay our portion, but none of the employees' portion. So how it is currently. So if you're working here and you left, we'll pay all of the comments portion and none of the employees. But if you're hired before 2008 and you had more than 10 years service, we'll pay our portion and your portion, 50% of your portion. So that's how it breaks down there. So I gave you what our annual cost and our monthly cost would look like. So then I just kind of projected to see, so you see what that would look like in the next fiscal year. So the main focus would be right now, the first two columns, well, in box, like the first column has words, but numbers in the first two columns on the FY 23-24. I put some notes here to say non-retirees not eligible. You know, some things you figure go without saying, but then you just put them out there so people will say, well, it didn't say. The policies for retired employees, and it only covers them. Additional coverage, like I said, if you retire, you have a spouse or family, that additional coverage would be on you. The comment will only cover the employee only. And that's the end of my report. If you have any questions or need me to further break down anything that I may have stumbled over.
Any questions?
Is this just for informational purposes, or does this require action?
This require action too. So I'm asking, we're gonna have to create a policy. I'm asking to create a policy based on what option 1, option 2, or anything of the like.
I would make a suggestion that you give us a little time to review this,
Okay.
although I've read it. But after your explanation, I think I just want a little more time to review it. And plus the fact, has it been run by legal? I think we need to also run that by legal. And then could we come back to next board meeting and vote on it?
Committee meeting.
We can do that. Any question on that, board members?
So, Mr. Chair, I do have a couple questions.
Yes.
Okay.
I
Mr.
agree that, sorry, go ahead.
Mr. Smith, you.
I agree that we need time on this. I have some additional questions. Roz, like when you were reaching out to other agencies. I know you reached out to me, what the city of Forest Acres does. Did you find anybody that's still doing this? Because this is a benefit that largely went away back in about 2008. And I think the reason was twofold. There was the recession for one thing, but I think it was around that time that GASB instituted a standard where you have to start showing on your balance sheet the actuarially determined liability for these post-employment benefits. So just like we have to do with the pension, you have to do this now with, at that point, you had to start doing this with the health benefits as well. And actually the health benefits came first. That happened in 2008, and then the pension stuff came later. But what happened, I think, at that time was that everybody got sticker shock, because when you actuarially value this liability, it's huge. So I'm looking at our financial statements, the city of Forest Acres financial statements. And at the end of June 2023, our net OPEB liability, which is just the health insurance part, is 5.3 million. And our total balance sheet, is, well, our total net position is 10 million. So I mean, it's a big part of our liabilities, our total liabilities. So I just say that to say it's not just $6,000 a year. You have to get an actuary. You have to hire an actuary every year to value this benefit on a projected basis. So they project out all the cash flows out into the future, and then they discount it back to the present. And it's a big number. So I mean, I see the value of this benefit. I just don't think that it's very common anymore. In public sector, it was for a long time, but I don't think it's people kind of realized that they couldn't afford it. And it's maybe a little bit different for the Comet because we do have a smaller staff vis-a-vis our total budget. A number of folks is small versus the size of our budget. Certainly that ratio is smaller than it would be at the city of Forest Acres, but it's not as straightforward as it might seem. So I think we do need more information. And I would even, before I could get really comfortable around it, I'd want an actuary to give us a value. Tell us what this is. What are we going to overnight? What are we going to put on our balance sheet if we were to adopt a policy like this? And it's probably a surprisingly large number. So I just, that's kind of where I am on it. One, I'd like to know what other agencies are doing. Two, I'd like to know what the total liability is.
So you are correct. In one, yeah, we are kind of small. So that sticker shock wouldn't be as high as 5 million. The agencies that I did reach out, surprisingly enough, a lot of them didn't know. We just let people handle it. So even
and if they're saying that, they don't have a policy, because they would know it if they did. And they would know it for a number of reasons. One is that you have to actually pay for these people every month.
correct.
As a separate population. You get a separate bill from PIBA for your retirees. And on top of that, every year you have to update the liability. But you have to hire the actuary to then true up or down the liability. And so they would probably know it. The fact that they don't know it tells me that they don't have that benefit.
And in listening to you, maybe I need to ask a different person, because I was kind of asking HR, who would just be like, yeah, I don't know, we let people handle it. And like I say, I was even asking retirees, like, how is it handled for you? Because we have 2 retirees return to work here on staff. So in asking them, hey, how did they go? And none of them were aware. I was like, yeah, I don't know. So yeah, I can go back and definitely ask. Like I say, this was just a proposal. You're welcome to say no. It's going to be a costly thing. It was just something, like I say, we didn't have a policy. I know when we don't have things in place, people tend to ask about them. So to set forth, even to say, hey, we do 0, that's an option too. They'll get the COBRA, they'll get their Medicare, or whatever they're eligible for, and the Commons not on the hook for anything.
So PIBA, let me think about this.
And the form sent to me by PIBA was an actual So, hold on. I'll send it out to you too, and even looking at it, they gave a breakdown of, you know, you pay a portion. It was like over 10 years, less than 15, so they had a kind of a grid line of what you would pay over other things too. So, it was, you know, a lot of trying to figure things out. And then kind of summed it down to come to this, but, I can go back to the drawing board and, you know, dig to people some more, ask different people at the agencies I did reach out to see where, you know, where they are.
I will say this, I mean, one thing you might want to do is look both at agencies like the comment, you know, so quasi, well, I forget the specific language, but you're not, the comment is neither a municipality or a county, nor is it a state agency. So it's sort of a, in the middle. The state agencies are handled one way, and that's by state law. Cities and counties are handled another way. Subdivisions of the state are handled a different way and have a lot more discretion with what they do. So it'd be interesting to know, and this is where, to Dr. Morris's point, it wouldn't hurt to have legal look at this, because where do we fit in that grid? My sense is that we're more like cities and counties, because if we weren't, you would know, you'd be dictated to what we have to do.
Right.
So the fact that we have an option tells me that we're more like cities and counties. But I mean, I think state agencies, as I said, state law dictates, and employees of state agencies do get this benefit if they meet certain criteria. But I would encourage you to look back at. So I'd encourage, we need to find out what the state agencies do, and then I would look at what other transit authorities and other quasi-governmental entities like the authority do.
Okay.
Any more questions? Okay, we will do that, Ms. Andrews, and then we'll come back with me and then discuss this again.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Moving on, we have comments, announcement, new motion. I have a few comments to make. Last meeting, our February meeting, we ran over about 10 minutes. And the reason we did that, because we had a guest, and he was very adamant about sharing his point of view with us. And certainly it would have been disrespectful, in my opinion, to cut him. But we know that, and I don't have a problem with cutting when you have to cut. But in that case, we wanted to hear him out. And then I received 2 calls, one last week, one this week, well, both last week, about maybe working it out where we could change our time. And I wasn't too pro on that, because usually we run about 30 minutes. And if we have a guest in, maybe it would be more than 30 minutes, but we could regulate that. I am suggesting to the board that where we have number 9, legal contractual personnel, we put that up on the agenda, just in case we have a speaker or someone we invite in. If we put that up on the agenda, then we could postpone, if you're running over, some of the items that we have on this committee. So I need to hear from you. What do you think if we push number 9 up to maybe number 5? Have any problems with that, anyone? Okay, well, I'm suggesting that, go ahead.
as a matter of course, every month we move 9 up to 5?
We could do that, or we could do it only when we invite guests in.
Gotcha.
But I don't see a problem with putting it at number 5. There's nothing that I know of saying that we can't change the agenda. And because most of the time, we wouldn't have anything legal, contractual, personnel matters. So if no one objects,
So I don't have a
I'm-
problem. I don't have a problem with doing that. I would just suggest we do it on a case by case basis. You know, the
Right.
chair acting with, you know, discussion with the ED and the CFO.
okay.
Said
that's-
that.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Smith. That is fine. So the next meeting, we know we have a guest coming in, so we will do that. And only to avoid running over the time. And we don't want to go over 11 o'clock. We respect the time of others, and certainly 10 minutes, you know, could have a great impact on things others have to do, so we don't want to run over. Okay, so that is what we will do, Mrs. Jacob, in the future. Any other comments, announcement, new motions? If not, we're moving to number 9, legal, contractual, personnel matters. I don't think we have any. So we're moving to 10, adjournment. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I'll second that motion.
Probably moving second, roll call.
Representative Howard, Mr. Lawson,
Yes.
Dr. Morris,
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, board members and staff. Certainly appreciate it.
You're welcome.